Yo, so guys, welcome back to another video. This is a reaction from the infographic show, and the video is common stereotypes about Americans. And I think could be quite fun because, again, people have stereotypes about every country in the world. Like probably the Americans think, or Americans generalize a lot of the UK or English people, whatever, saying like, oh, they love their crumpets, they love their tea, or just stuff like that. That is stereotyping in a certain degree. Maybe not just Americans, just people around the world think that about British people. And certain stereotypes that I would probably say, especially before I really got into like learning and this kind of stuff about it, is like Americans love their what? I get confused between the two. It's either cheeseburgers or hamburgers. One of the two. I always get confused. Cheeseburgers is basically the burger with cheese. Hamburger is just a burger without the cheese. So I'm gonna say cheeseburgers, but then saying that's not a very good stereotype if I don't actually know what the difference is. Americans love their guns. That's definitely one. I don't know really. I guess the common one is like people commonly think all Americans are like overweight and stuff like that because of the foods and stuff. Even though, to be fair, the UK isn't much better if we're being honest. I swear we're like the second fattest country in the world, and we're like the fastest growing country in terms of the country with the highest percentage of the population gaining weight and like to obesity levels or whatever. I guess they're just certain stereotypes. I can't really think, to be honest, but they're like sort of things I would definitely have thought to start with. And some of them, to be fair, they still are kind of, I don't know if they're stereotypes because maybe that's just how it is or what. I don't even know what I'm saying, to be honest. But yeah, let's just get into this. Maybe there's some other stereotypes that I'll be mentioning in this that I would have thought before. But or maybe someone is in here that my mind has actually changed from what I used to think before. But yeah, let's just get into this one. Quick shout out to my Instagram, my Twitter, links in the description for those who want to follow. We're close to 4K on my Instagram, so I'd be appreciative if people wanted to follow that. Same for my Patreon, 122 people now there. Crazy. I'm assuming we're like after I've posted this video, it's actually going to be higher. But thank you so much for the support. And the links are there for the Patreon videos. There's like 6 Patreon exclusive reactions there already. I've had it for like a week, and there's a lot of. This video would have been posted on the Patreon a few days earlier kind of thing, so a lot of the videos go up earlier on there, so if you're interested in that, the links are all there. But let's get into this one. It's a shorter video, but I still enjoy these videos nevertheless. But let's get into this one.
We all love to stereotype, to believe in or to cast forth oversimplified ideas about certain groups and
Russians and their bears.
A nationality. Is it really true that all Italians are passionate lovers and equally passionate about food? Do the Brits have stiff upper lips and bad teeth? Are Canadians...
I still don't understand that. My teeth are actually alright, to be fair. And I do know some people. Is it because of? Okay, I don't even know if Americans know about this show, but Jeremy Kyle. This is not going to help my my argument. British. I'm just gonna search teeth. Show teeth. It's because of this, isn't it? I just want to say, if it is because of this show is known to just have the biggest crackheads, right? This does not help my cause. Oh god, these are all like druggy. Maybe the argument is fair. Maybe it is actually fair. Oh no. Oh no, this is not fair, man. But my teeth are like good, and I've not actually had to have braces, luckily. But I don't understand that. But I guess because of shows like that, it does make sense. But let me know what is like where that stereotype came from. Is it like because maybe back in the day British people genuinely did have shit teeth, and if that's the case, fair enough. To be fair enough.
Simple outdoorsy types with an enthusiasm for chopping wood. Well, today we are going to look at just one country in this episode of the infographic show, Common Stereotypes About Americans. Don't forget to subscribe and click the bell button so that you can be part of our notification squad. The big, bold, brash American. How true is that? There is a stereotype that Americans are a big or fat nation. The stereotype is partly true if you believe the World Health Organization. According to 2015 data, the USA was the most obese Western nation in the world, but it only...
It's the 16th fattest nation in the world. I mean, it's high, but I actually always just thought it was the first fattest nation in the world. I don't know why, but I just assumed it was in terms of like population to like the percentage of the people who were obese. But
only came 16th on the list, which included all the world's nations. The island of Nauru in the region of Micronesia came first on the list. Reports suggest Americans actually...
A little island like that has an obesity problem. What? Wait, I wouldn't have thought like small islands sort of in the middle of nowhere would have those sort of problems. Because like, how do you even get food to them? It must take days. I mean, I know how you get it, like through boats and stuff, but it must take days.
exercise a lot, but with a diet of fast food, high sugar intake, and super-sized portions, US citizens will have a hard time running off the extra pounds. We might take bold and brash.
Sorry for pausing a lot, but the US is crazy. Like, it's the sportiest, like the most athletic sort of driven country in the world. Like, it takes its sports more seriously than any other country in the world, but it also has the obesity problem, so it's like a two-way thing. It's weird how the obesity problem there, but it also has like the fittest people in terms of like sports and stuff like that. It's crazy how like completely different those two sides are, but it's all in the same country.
To sometimes mean arrogant and dismissive of other cultures. Who hasn't seen those viral video clips wherein Americans are subjected to global knowledge questions and come out looking like they know little about the world?
Yes.
According to the writer and habitually quoted academic Noam Chomsky, the average American knows a lot more about sports than global politics. The gas station attendant who wants to use his mind isn't going to waste his time on international affairs because that's useless. He can't do anything about it, said Chomsky, stating that people use their expertise where they think it counts. He also said to be critical and disobedient went against the grain, and so most Americans just join in the debate at the trivial level and know very little about deconstructing global politics. Someone writing on Quora said
I'll be honest, bro, I don't even know about global politics. I don't even understand Brexit still. I'm not even going to lie. I just steer away from that stuff. Politics isn't for me, so that isn't just an American thing. That's just for people who just don't give a fuck, basically. But I'm guessing he's sort of saying certain people sort of don't understand it, but they try and sort of pretend they understand it. But again, that's not an American thing, that's just people in general.
The education system, the TV media, are US-centric. She also pointed out that America is large enough to travel around extensively, and foreign travel can be prohibitively expensive. The State Department said in 2016 that 64% of Americans don't even own a passport. But then you could ask, with such a large and beautiful country, do they need one? Another stereotype related to lack of knowledge about other countries might be that Americans watch way too much television and that sometimes those shows are a tad mind-numbing. Well, Americans do top the list of being the most avid TV watchers in the world. According to a Recode article in 2016, the average American watches 4.3 hours of TV a day.
See, I've stopped watching TV, but I still watch it like on Netflix and like YouTube and stuff, so I guess you could consider that TV in a sense, but if you mean like general TV, like TV channels and all this kind of stuff, then no. I only ever watch TV really to watch sports, but even then I watch it on my computer. So actually, I don't actually watch TV. But if he means like Netflix as well, then I guess it changes that.
Older generation more so than the younger generation, who prefer spending time using other devices. It depends on what you watch on TV, but one could ask if you could equate the global ignorance stereotype with being the country that is glued to what has sometimes been called the idiot box more than anyone else. We are starting to sound quite negative now, so what about all those positive stereotypes? The well-known English writer Stephen Fry once said that after traveling around the USA for a while making a TV program, one thing he most admired was the friendliness and positive outlook of Americans. He extolled what he called American optimism, and that American people believed they could improve and do what they wanted to if they tried. This all may boil down to what we might call the American dream and the pursuit of happiness. Are all Americans like this? A report by the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime put Americans 8th on the list of most drug-addicted countries, noting that the prescription painkiller epidemic is presently very worrying. North America had the highest amount of drug-related deaths of all continents in 2015, with the report stating, in the United States, nearly 500,000 people are estimated to have died from drug overdoses since 2000. Just recently, the New York Times reported that drug overdoses in the US were rising faster than ever. Perhaps American optimism is partially true, but American OxyContin addiction undermines the positive outlook there.
Maybe the positiveness that people having a positive outlook on certain things will then fall back on them when they've sort of have the belief they can do something. For example, you go to LA to try and become an actor, and then your dream doesn't become true, and then you have no other sort of places to like fall back on, and you lead to like this because you've got nothing else to sort of like, or you feel like you've got nothing else to sort of to live for in a sense. Obviously that's not true, but that's how people would feel after like chasing their dream and not being able to get it. So I do see that, actually. I do see that a lot.
Stereotype.
Maybe not just that example, but that's just like one example of many different sort of things that could be the case.
What about guns? Americans love their guns, right?
Here we go.
According to the Telegraph in 2016, Americans do indeed have more guns per person than any other country in the world. The data tells us there are 112.6 per 100 citizens, more than a gun for every person. It's true that many Americans support the right to bear arms, but it's also true that many other Americans support tighter gun control or the banning of guns altogether. A recent Pew Research poll found that 52% of Americans support support stricter gun control, while only 18% wanted less strict control. A Gallup poll in 2016 said that 76% of Americans said handguns should not be banned for all people, not including authorities, but 23% said they should. Another stereotype is that Americans are loud and sometimes rude. An op-ed in the Huffington Post seems to agree with this assertion.
That's kind of differentiating to, or not differentiating, that's the opposite of like polite and helpful, like what they said a few minutes ago. This is just people just having their own opinions. You could go to any country and you could see people who are loud and like rude, but then you could see people who are like helpful and just quiet or like friendly or whatever. Some Americans probably are loud, but also being loud in a sense isn't always bad, but also can be. But then again, it's a two-way thing. You're probably just seeing different groups of people.
Awareness of how personal actions impact others seems to be a weak point for Americans in general, said the writer. This translates to the perceived ignorant persona Americans abroad present, she added. There are many reasons put forward as to why this is, especially when abroad, but the main one is that instilled in Americans is not only a positive outlook, but also self-importance. People think they should be heard, and this also goes back to embracing freedom of speech and saying what the hell you want to say, goddammit. This has sometimes been taken as rude in a situation where an American will complain about the service or food in a restaurant, but perhaps these people only think they are enjoying their right to do that. In Japan, there's a saying, hit the nail that sticks out, while in America it might be more applicable to say, be sure to make good use of your protuberance. This also might align with the stereotype of American patriotism. When British students asked American students questions about stereotypes, one Brit kid asked why Americans were so patriotic. Some American students didn't deny it and gave good answers. One student said, "We are a major melting pot country. Rather than history or a common language that unites us, we are united by freedom, which is what it means to be American." It is, however, possibly a weak stereotype, as another student said he wasn't patriotic at all, and another called patriotism mere mob mentality. A Gallup poll said that in 2016, only 53% of Americans said they felt extremely proud to be American. This compares to 70% who said yes to that question in 2003.
Oh, shit.
It said the younger generation was the cause of this huge change, which mirrors the mob mentality students' belief. Sometimes you'll notice in Europe there's a certain snootiness that Americans are not cultured. This to some extent could be true, as the United States is relatively new, and so we can't really credit the country for a renaissance of culture. But hold on, what about the great transcendentalist movement of the 19th century with its poets and philosophers that is making a comeback today against hyper-consumerist values? This later led to the free-spirited Beat generation and the books of Jack Kerouac. In music, America gave us the blues, originating from African Americans in the Mississippi Delta. It gave us New Orleans jazz. It gave us, to a large extent, the hippie 60s and the American Kool-Aid acid test. In New York in the 70s, we got disco, and following that came the hip-hop movement. Throughout those years, writers vied to write the great...
The US has been huge for the music scene for the last 100 years, maybe like 80, 90 years, which goes to show the influence is obviously growing. And when you sort of think about music now, it all is like majority like pop, rap, rock, whatever. It is like, again, not all, but a lot of the charts are dominated by US artists because of people around the world listening to US music.
Some of them, such as
not just Americans listening to their own music, the US sort of music and films and whatever dominate the world now. So it does sort of show their own sort of, maybe not culture, but their influence.
Joseph Heller, Philip Roth, and Toni Morrison wrote literary masterpieces that will go down as books that changed the world. Can we really say that Americans are uncultured? So, what do you think of these American stereotypes? Can you name a
I remember people saying that in the comments, and like it's like the US doesn't have one definitive culture. It's like a mixture of cultures throughout states, and that's something that I have definitely learned for sure. There isn't one like there isn't one sort of culture you would associate with the whole of the US, but throughout different states there are sort of different cultures you will sort of find, kind of thing. Hi, I'm from Texas. Everyone, you a cowboy. I always find it curious that we considered friendly but also rude. That's what I sort of got confused with there, isn't it? In America, people are really upbeat and straightforward at the same time. Sometimes they don't care about sugarcoating things. Sometimes they do it without melodious intent. Some things are considered a bit rude in Europe, while they're okay in the US. Cultural differences. My pen pal from France, upon seeing me for the first time, "Wow, you're not fat. You missed the cowboy stereotype. It's common, especially in anime." I've never actually watched anime. People are asking me to react to some anime. I might do that on my Patreon because it might get blocked, but I would be down for that. I've just never watched it before. Dude, America is a big country, different regions, different stereotypes. Are any of the viewers here American? I am. Average American watched 4.3 hours of TV a day. Well, I guess I'm not that average because I watch none. America. Sorry, I have to say it. You're adding to the stereotype. Random nation in the Middle East finds oil. USA heavy breathing. Did you really just use someone on Quora and on Obed and having to post those sources? When I'm not American and still think of being proud of your country and who you're talking about is nothing to be ashamed of. It's not. It isn't. It's not something that I sort of do. I don't really... I mean, I'm proud of my country when it comes to like sporting events. Or like the Olympics. Like Team GB. Sort of like you like to back your country. But when it comes to like politics and stuff like that, I'm not as proud kind of thing. But at the same time, I am proud to be where I'm from. Like certain things that my country does that I feel like we do better than other countries like the US, in my opinion. But then Americans will see what we do and will think, or some Americans will see what we do and be like, they do it so wrong. What we do it a lot better. And it's just down to opinions, man. But there's certain things about like loving your country which is fair, but then it reaches a point maybe where when your country is genuinely doing something wrong, and this isn't me speaking for anyone, I'm just sort of saying, if your country is doing something wrong and you still support that kind of stuff, then that's when it comes to a level where maybe it shouldn't be there. But I don't know. It's just a stereotype at the end of the day. If you're proud about your country, you're proud about your country, and there's nothing you can do about that. But enjoy this video. Definitely want to do more of this stuff. This video was like 3 years old and it's quite short, but I do still enjoy these kinds of reactions. This video was actually 6 minutes long, but I've managed to make this like 50 minutes long. God damn, I talk a lot. But yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this reaction. Until next time, like, subscribe, peace.